Hey, J-Bone Nation! Shaming of Jay. He's not a dopey dumb bitch. He gets laid. The court jester. The court DJ. It's time to dive into the case. To the case.
What's up, everybody? I want you to just imagine after that intro, there was Al Bundy saying, "Let's rock," because I forgot to ask Steve for his intro. Sorry about that, guy.
No, dude.
I'm so sorry.
That would have been a good one after that. Just the "Let's rock." That would have been perfect.
Wow. Totally fucking Steve over. Nice job, Jay.
I am the worst. I am the worst. What's up, boys?
What's
No,
up,
we love you,
everybody?
fellas. What's up, guys?
Dude, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having us, dude.
The boys are back in town.
Of course. Yeah, big case, man. This thing is coming at us like a steam train, man. And I know we're all about it, man, because it's one of those cases that's got it all, you know, including the whodunit element. And you know, the thing has been gaining speed nationally, and I think that a lot of people have heard of it, but I thought it would be awesome if us fellas would get together and try to do the best that we can to give the people an idea of the players in the case, an idea of who John O'Keefe was, the victim, rest in peace, a little bit about the timeline leading up to it, and kind of dive into the two competing theories that are out there leading into trial, so that when Jay and I are guiding you through this sure to be crazy trial, you guys have a little bit of an understanding what it's all about and kind of understand who the players are. So, because this isn't like one of those cases that was on the radar like Murdoch for years, where they've done documentaries. It's like going into that trial, everybody who knew anything about that case knew who all the players were. They knew the story. This case is a little bit different because it flew under the radar for a very long time and really just started picking up speed, in the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, it's been pretty recent, really, since like September, October last year, right?
Yeah. And so
and really nationally within the last year, right? 4 or 5, like this year, really.
Yes, definitely. So I'm excited about it. And you know, let's do the best we can for the peoples. And welcome everybody.
Yes, welcome. And for the folks who have been following me and Bob following the Daybell trial, if you're not familiar with Steve and Dan, they run the awesome channel Publicly Buzzed. We got 3 channels going right now. Please subscribe to Publicly Buzzed. They're awesome. If you like mine Bob's content, you're gonna love theirs. I know a lot of people already do know who they are, but in case you don't, and I'm sure Steve and Dan, you guys are probably gonna be doing some. We do stuff during the day, me and Bob, but you guys are probably gonna be doing a little bit at night, right? Covering this.
We're the late night show.
Yeah. As this goes, you know, definitely I'm going to be, this is one that I am excited about. Just, I mean, it's a horrible situation, but I mean, dude, I want to know what the hell's going on. I can't wait till this actually gets laid out and we get more than just bickering online between two camps. I'm excited.
Please. We need to hear expert testimony. Please.
Right. And me and Bob have talked about this. For people who, it's fine if you're coming in here with your preformed opinions. We don't have them. Me and Bob and everyone and Steve and Dan, we're going into this watching the evidence. We're trying to just give you guys a little background, but like we're not on either side. We want to watch this trial, watch the evidence come out, and then make our decision then. I know this is, I honestly don't know of a case that I've seen. I mean, maybe Delphi Bob, but that the vitriol out there. I mean, Shannon just posted a trial style. She does like think about the style in cases, and people are coming at her. And she didn't say Karen Reed was innocent. She didn't say Karen Reed was guilty. She just said this is their outfit, and it's wild out there. So we hope that we have a place where you guys can watch this. We're not going to like
the safe haven.
Yeah. That's what we want to be. So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So I could start here with, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah. And you know, like everyone just needs to calm down. Everyone needs to bring it from like a 7 down to like a 2. And like, let's wait till trial. I mean, it's here. We don't need to be freaking out all over each other anymore. It's like we're finally getting the actual trial where we're going to see the actual evidence, and we're going to hear actual witnesses, and we'll hear actual experts pick things apart or substantiate things, and then we could debate, you know. So just everybody be cool. Don't make Jay and I regret that we're streaming this thing. You know, we like, we're super excited about it, and like, you know, obviously, as Steve said, you know, keeping in mind that there's a victim here. And we're all mindful of that all the time. But in terms of trials, we think this one's going to have it all. So we're excited to bring it to you. So yeah, let's jump in, Jay.
All right. So I'm going to share here. And while I bring this up, guys, just so you know, they're picking the jury. If you didn't know, they are picking the jury. I believe, what do we have now? Out of 16, we have 12, I think.
12.
4 more. They're not picking tomorrow, back on Monday. So very likely, I think the trial's going to start Tuesday or Wednesday. So just a heads up regarding that. And let me go to first. We have it. And by the way, thank you, mods, who made these awesome graphics for us. Let me share this one instead. Here we go. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts versus Reed. The charges are 2nd-degree murder, manslaughter while impaired, and leaving the scene. The victim is John O'Keefe, Boston PD, assigned to the Sex Offender Registry Unit on January 29, 2022, found unresponsive outside of 34 Fairview. He died of head injuries and hypothermia. And then the defendant is Karen Reed. She's 44, financial analyst and college professor, girlfriend of John for 2 years, accused of hitting John with her SUV. So those are the key players.
Kind of the baseline facts. And
Right.
and Karen Reed was actually arrested initially and not charged with 2nd-degree homicide. They ended up going to a grand jury, and the grand jury came back and they upped the charges to this heavy-duty 2nd-degree murder. You know, it's a whole different thing. So it became a very serious case in terms of the defendant. And, you know, at that point, that's when she started hiring the big guns. And what we're going to do you have a little more info about John O'Keefe?
Yes, I do.
That we can peep into, learn a little bit more about him.
So this is from the Boston Globe. John O'Keefe's loved ones are focused on remembering a good man. You know, here we go. He was such a good man, said John Jackson, a close friend of O'Keefe's from college. Because where we want to talk about, this is about John O'Keefe, right, guys? This is about trying to figure out what happened here.
He's kind of been forgotten in this, sadly, man.
He has.
He's on the back burner.
Yep.
As several of O'Keefe's friends and family members have told the Globe that the spectacle is detracted from the real shame of the case, the loss of a loving uncle, a loyal and generous friend, and a dedicated police officer. So I'm just trying to see here. Sorry, guys. I'm just not trying to do the whole article. I just want to see what the important things we want to learn here.
There you go, right there. Paul O'Keefe said that his brother's catchphrase was, "It's only a movie." It's etched onto John's headstone, and it was his brother's way of trying to take the edge off the craziness that life throws at you. He said several friends held up John O'Keefe's reaction to his sister's death as proof of priorities. And anybody that didn't know that, you know, his sister died of brain cancer previous to this, and he stepped up immediately. I think they go into it in this article to take care of her kids. Like, he instantly, like, there wasn't any moment where he said, we're gonna have to figure this out. His brother is talking in here, his family, and basically, I mean, he was a stand-up individual, and that's a pretty big move. Like, it's
a huge move
to go from living, a childless lifestyle to being able to have to take care of children. That's pretty huge. So
yeah, it says here he was living the life
going from funkle to dad.
Right, and that's a massive transition for
huge
folks who have kids. And no, he was living the life of a bachelor in Dorchester time, but moved to Canton and adjusted his work schedule to care for the children, cutting down on extra hours and switching to a more administrative role and a 9 to 5-ish shift to better support the children. His friend said he did it so humbly and so matter-of-factly. Added his friend Sean. He did it for 8 years. He said, Paul, he did a pretty bang-up job, I thought. Kane remembers him as undoubtedly one of the most generous dudes I've ever met, who would always buy the first round of drinks, went out with a large group of friends. Kane said OKeefe was always excelled at whatever sports kids played in the neighborhood: wiffle ball, street hockey, basketball. Friends described OKeefe as a Boston sports fan, traveling to other cities to take in away games of the Red Sox, Bruins, and Patriots. He attended opening day at Fenway Park religiously. That's a big fan right there. Going to opening day, that's a big deal. And you guys, for folks who don't know, I mean, you probably do know, Boston is like rabid with their sports team, right, guys? I mean, that's a big deal.
Huge. Between the Sox and the Pats and the Celts, and the Bruins, they're big on all their sports. It's a blue collar town, man. And right. They take their sports very seriously in blue collar towns. I live in one. Chicago's the same way. So I mean, he's clearly was just a super solid, wonderful family guy who, stepped up when he needed to without question. And it's a real shame that he's not here anymore. And, I don't know what he'd be thinking about what's going on out there in these streets with respect to heading into this trial. But I can't imagine that this is what he'd want to be seeing happening out there. So I'm relieved, frankly, that this thing's finally going to trial, because I think that will help simmer the heat a little bit on this case, because we're going to finally get to start hearing the evidence, and that's what matters in cases like this. We're trying to figure out the truth. We're all desperate to try to figure out what happened here. And, interestingly, when we get into the timeline, I'll talk about it a little more. And I know that there's a bunch of our subs in here, Jay, but maybe if we have some new folks, this is a case where it's unusual in that, the state's theory of the case is out there, as it typically is with all cases. The state typically says, okay, this is what we think happened, and this is what the evidence will show happened. And typically you don't hear anything from the defense until trial. This case was different in that the defense put out a motion to dismiss over a year ago. And in that, they laid out their entire theory of defense, which is vastly different than the state's theory. Not only that, Karen Reed is not the person responsible for John O'Keefe's death, but that they feel that other individuals are in fact responsible for it. And they've tried to come with receipts. So we've got these two competing theories out here, which caused a huge divide in the community, the true crime community that followed this case in particular. And it's pretty toxic. It's not a comfortable, like you're not gonna put a lawn chair out there and relax and bask in like the hate that's flying back and forth, because it's super ugly, and people have dug into positions, which I'm here to tell you, until we see the facts vetted at trial, neither side knows anything. The only people that have seen all the evidence are the prosecutors, the defense attorneys, and the cops, and probably Karen Reed if she's going through it. That's it. Those are the only people that know what's what so far. And that's the entire purpose of having a trial, so that we can all learn what the evidence is and then have it examined thoroughly at trial. And then hopefully what will happen is that the truth will avail itself to us and we'll say, oh, well, clearly that's what happened. So that's a hope. So hopefully everybody just calms down until this thing starts, and it's coming. Like we're thinking they potentially could pick the 4 remaining on Monday and then opening statements on Tuesday, and then we're off and running. So
Yeah, this has got to start next week, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
we are.
It's the question of whether it's Tuesday or Wednesday, but it's starting next week. And I mean, it's to the point where like the judge had to make an order, right? Where certain people can't be as close to the courthouse because like it's gotten so
Or hold
wild.
signs now, right? Now they're all wearing pink for Karen.
Right. There's signs and so there's so much going on with this. So we got a timeline
Which
up
is,
here.
by the way, directly disobeying a judge's order, right? There
What?
wasn't supposed to be any sort of representation through clothing of, supporting Karen Reed, but they found a way that, they decided to wear pink.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess she made the buffer zone, like the controversial
Right.
buffer zone where, she basically kept everybody a certain distance away from the courthouse, and, she was threatening all kinds of things if they break the if they break the buffer zone, either with signs or, wearing articles of clothing. I don't know that it's constitutional for her to do that, or
That's what I was kind of thinking. I'm like, man, that's pretty crazy. Like,
The interpretation too is probably like free Karen Reed shirts and things like that, not necessarily like a color, like wearing a specific color in support. That's
right. I think like pink is the color that, like, the free Karen Reed color is pink. So, and the judge is obviously hyper aware of all that. But like, I guess the concern is the jury walking in, that they'll somehow be influenced by the people. I don't know, man. I mean, like everybody in that area, Canton's a small area. They all know about the case. You know what I mean?
It's been hard to pick a jury because of that, man. They went through so many people so far.
I'll say the protesting was a little crazy, in my personal opinion. It was getting a little out of control.
Oh yeah, it was
kind of embarrassing for a lot of, in my opinion. There's a lot of those videos coming out. I wouldn't want to be, those people in there acting like that. I'll say that.
And it's to Bob's point. We talked about this before. It's the first kind of cases where the defense is sending out a theory. Like typically you only get the state side, and now that people have both of these things, that's what same kind of with Delphi, right? I mean, all of a sudden there's 2 theories out there when typically you only get the state. So we're really going to try to do our best to be objective. We're going to go through what we know and determine through the trial. Like I know people have made up their minds, but it's hard to do that before you vet the witnesses, vet the evidence.
Do it. Like, I mean, you can, but you're wrong. I mean, you may end up being right, but you can't go in with definitives. And you know what I'm saying? You can't go in saying, I know this is, like, you don't know. None of us know until we see all the evidence. That's facts. Like no one can argue the opposite position of that particular statement that I just made, because you're speculating. Unless you're privy to all of the discovery, unless you know what all the evidence is, unless you've hired your own experts to evaluate it, and they said, oh yeah, this is what's going on with that. If you're not that person, then you don't know, and we won't know until trial. And as far as I know, that's the people that I named. It's the prosecutors, the defense attorneys, the cops, and Karen Reed. Those are the only people that know what's what at this point. So we'll see how it plays out. So yeah, let's dig into who some of the players are, man.
Oh, you want to do the players or the timeline?
Let's do the players and then the timeline, because then like they'll know who we're talking about when we get into the timeline.
All right. So here's the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We have Judge. I don't know. Judge Beverly, is it Canone? I'm not really sure how to pronounce her last name.
Yeah, Canone's it.
District Court Judge, 2009, Superior Court, 2014, refused to recuse herself from the Reed trial. The district attorney is Michael Morrissey, elected Norfolk DA in 2015, served as a state representative and state senator. District Attorney Adam Lally, elected Norfolk Assistant DA in 2011, 19 years experience, lead prosecutor And then District Attorney Laura McLaughlin, elected Norfolk Assistant DA in 2016, a second chair.
Yeah, Lally's the guy who's like running the show for sure. He's the main dude. So he'll be, for those of you familiar with, like Murdoch, like he'll be the Creighton Waters of this case for the Commonwealth for sure.
All right.
So, and people with the judge, people on the Reed side of this are like, oh, she's incredibly biased, and she's a state's judge, and she's prosecutor friendly, and in my experience in practicing as a criminal defense attorney, almost all judges are pro prosecution. Like typically the path to the bench is through, it seems, where I practice, it's typically through the prosecutor's office, much more so than the public defender's office. So a lot of times they get up there, and that's what their experience has been. But at the end of the day, all that you can ask for from a judge is that they do their job, which is to the best that they can, which is, you hope, a very high level of being unbiased, and because her role at trial is to be the arbiter of, what comes in and what stays out in terms of evidence, and to rule on objections, which again is determining what's admissible and what's not, typically having something to do with witnesses saying things in court. Obviously there can be objections about exhibits that one side or the other is trying to get in, and the judge is the gatekeeper of what comes in and what comes out, or what stays out, and and they protect the jury. They try to run the case so that the jury doesn't get undue influence or improper influence from things that are said or shown. So that's her role, and you just hope that the judge will do that at a high level, and that she'll follow the law, which that's all we can ask for, because that's what her gig is.
Absolutely. And this is Karen Reed's defense team, and I just want to again thank and shout out our mods who were Dizzy and Mandy and everyone else who worked on these graphics. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys.
We really do.
So this is David Yannetti. He is the on the defense team from the start of the case, a former ADA from Massachusetts. Alan Jackson is from California, has represented some high-profile clients, joined the case September 2022, a former prosecutor. And Elizabeth Little from California also represents high-profile clients and is a former public defender. It's got to be good, Bob, to be a former prosecutor too, right? When you're
I think it's helpful. It's nice to have been on like both sides of the bar, because then you have kind of, the experience of handling it from the side of prosecuting people and also from the side of defending people. So yeah, I think it's a great advantage as a defense attorney to have been a former prosecutor, because you kind of know the tricks of the trade. You kind of know, because prosecutor, they're typically, the offices are pretty hush hush, like in terms of how they operate in there and who's making what decisions. And like if we have cases where we're like, we're going to ride this up the pole a little bit and see if we can talk to somebody above you, like if we have a prosecutor that's not budging on like if we're trying to get a plea deal done, or like, we don't want to offend you, we're not trying to go over you, but we're going to go over you and see what your boss has to say about it. So yeah, I think that's super effective.
Here we have some witnesses. Dano, you want to read? Can you see that, or?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Awesome thing.
All right. So we got Julie and Chris Albert, brother and sister-in-law of Brian Albert, sister and brother-in-law of Jennifer McCabe, parents of Colin Albert, present at the Waterfall Bar. Julie invited John to the Waterfall Bar. We got Brian Albert, married to Nicole. He was also present at the Waterfall Bar. He owns 34 Fairview, where John was found dead outside. Trained MMA fighter. It's an interesting fact. And third-party culpability. Brian Higgins, ATF agent, claims he flirted with Reed for weeks, present at the Waterfall and Fairview. Left Fairview at 1:30 a.m. to go to the office. Third-party culpability. And Jen McCabe, married to Matthew, sister-in-law of Brian Albert, present at Waterfall and Fairview, made the 2:27 a.m. Google search, Haws Long to Diane Cold, which is now infamous, and was with Reed when they found John O'Keefe.
By the way, Dan, I'm curious.
Sorry, Jay, and that I just want to be clear that fact that we just read off there that made the 2:27 a.m. Google search Haws Long to Diane Cold is the most hotly contested issue in the trial. So just so you know, just because we have it on that graphic doesn't mean that we're stating that it's a definitive, because that will be one of the most litigated aspects of this case.
Not saying that, yeah.
I want to add to that as well. That is my most interested topic for the trial. I want to hear, because the defense has already said, basically confirmed, but through the FBI investigation, that it did indeed happen at 2:27 a.m. And then the prosecution comes back and says, well, they're kind of twisting the words of because the FBI investigation was independent. It was not through the defense, right?
Right.
So, and they're saying, they're kind of twisting the words of the investigation. So I really want to hear the FBI expert talk about it and see where that plays. That's my most interested topic for this trial for sure.
I think it's like the entire case hinges on that. I mean, in my world, if it is substantiated at trial that Jen McCabe made that search at 2:27 a.m., there is no other explanation as to why she would have done that unless they're looking at John O'Keefe laying in the front yard at 2:27. And if they're looking at John O'Keefe laying in the front yard and Googling that, why aren't you calling 911? You know what I mean? It's like it like, to me, that turns the whole case. If that search actually happened at that time, to me, that is a huge indicator that more likely than not, and I'm saying that because I still need to hear all the rest of the evidence, but more likely than not, John O'Keefe was not struck by Karen Reed in reverse, leaving the scene. Because there's just no reasonable explanation for why she would have been searching at that time. And I don't even think she wasn't even at the scene. I think she was at home at that point.
If that search is without a doubt confirmed, then we also need to start wondering about charges towards some of these other parties, right?
Well, I mean, that's a whole, we'll talk about that towards the end, but that's the question, when we kind of go through the timeline, and that was really what the focus of the federal investigation was the lack of investigation into the people in that house. And, I was talking to Jay about it earlier. I'm like, Dan or Steve or Jay or me, or if any of us had a dead body laying on our front lawn, and it's not some, just wandering person that happened to die of, exposure or hypothermia, and there was just happened to be walking by, but instead was a person that is known to have been going to that house to continue to have, drinks and party with friends, like, to think that that law enforcement wouldn't take an interest to come into the house just to see what's what is very, very peculiar to me. I think had they done that, and it was so peculiar to the feds, and because we're talking about a house full of law enforcement, these guys are cops in here, so it has that feeling of impropriety, that you try to avoid. Like, even any kind of inkling of impropriety is not a good look, and it starts people thinking, well, what the hell is this, like a cover up, or what's going on? Because if it's the four of us, they're definitely coming into the house. They're going and getting a warrant, and they're definitely going to see what's up in there. They're probably going to process it as a scene potentially, and then they'll see what's what. But none of that happened, and it was so shocking to the feds that they finally said, you know what, we're going to investigate the investigation, which is what they did. So it's like, Go ahead, Jay.
I was just going to say, and again, this is why this trial is so important, because they're going to be experts and they're going to be talking about this text, and they're going to be talking about all the cast and all the all the programs that they use to get this information. Like, that's why it's so important to like evaluate, because I could see it in the chat. There are people who are like, that text was sent then. There are people like, that text wasn't sent then.
Yeah.
Until we see these experts and them explaining it and evaluating that as we see the trial, no one knows, you know what I mean? And you just have to evaluate, just like a jury's gonna have to do. That should hopefully not be biased by anything going into it.
And that's exactly why I clarified that, like, despite
Right.
our graphics saying that, like, we're not endorsing.
Very important.
Just,
Yeah.
like that is
Very
the major. That is, to me, probably the most major fact in dispute. You know,
Definitely.
and then obviously the injuries sustained by John O'Keefe, but we'll get to that when we kind of get to both theories of the case.
Steve, you want to do the this one? Can you read it?
Witnesses.
I can make it.
I think I got it. Yeah. Tristan Morris, Caitlin Albert's boyfriend, President Waterfall Bar, picked Caitlin up at midnight from 34 Fairview. Caitlin Albert, daughter of Nicole and Brian, present again at Fairview. Investigator with Attorney General's office stated she didn't see John or Reed. I'm probably going to butcher this name here, though. Karina and Nicholas Kolokithus?
I would guess Kolokithus. That would be my
guess. That sounds way better.
Nice.
You nailed that, I think, actually.
I'm with Jay on that one. That's
I think that's correct. Yeah.
Excellent pronunciation of what appears to be a Greek name.
Yeah, I would guess that's a Greek name.
I'm going to call him Kolo. Mr. and Mrs. Kolo. President of the Waterfall Bar, assistant, what is it, vice principal?
Vice president.
Vice president, and associate chief counsel at John Hancock Friends of John Reed complained about John's mom and no privacy. Interesting. Ryan Nagel, Julie's brother, Julie called him for a ride from 34 Fairview, stated he arrived at the same time as Reed and John.
Yeah, Nagel's an interesting,
important statement. Yeah.
All right, let's go further. We got Carrie Roberts, friend of Reed's, drove Reed and Jen and was with them when they found John not present at 34 Fairview on the night. Brian Albert Jr., son of Nicole and Brian Albert, celebrating his birthday at 34 Fairview the night of the incident. Third-party culpability. Sarah Levinson, friend of Brian Albert Jr., president at 34 Fairview, stated she didn't see John or Reed left with the McCabe's. And
there's some interesting time frames in some of these people's statements as well. Like, some people said that everyone had left by 1. There's some people that are saying they didn't leave to 1:30. Some folks said that they had seen the van with only Karen inside of it. So, like, where is John at that point? Like, there's a lot of weird statements out there that really don't kind of mesh.
And I was talking to Bob about this, but one of the other than the text, which obviously and the other evidence, all of these witnesses' testimonies are going to be like so important, and evaluating them for their credibility. Are their stories meshing? Do their stories not mesh? Like, just another reason why this trial is going to be like, we can just all kind of hopefully just watch it and see if we think they're credible or not.
The defense is completely relying on basically everyone that was at 34 Fairview Road that night is lying. So when the defense starts asking their questions, how are they going to react? It's going to be incredibly important. Right.
Exactly.
And it's really interesting because on the date that they started picking the jury, both sides' witness lists came out and were published in the public, and the defense unusually has all of their witnesses. I would consider them to be antagonistic, meaning that I will not be surprised if the defense has to request permission from the judge to treat each and every one of their witnesses, aside from their experts, as hostile, which essentially means that they can lead as if they're doing cross-examination as opposed to a direct. So it's a crazy trial, man. Like, procedurally, there's all kinds of things going on, and it's not what you typically see, especially from the defense side of it. And remember, the defense doesn't have to prove anything here. They don't have to prove that these people actually did it. They just need to be able to establish that the state can't meet their burden, and they're going about it by way of third-party culpability, which the judge has ruled on, and the judge is going to allow for it to have it develop through cross-examination and through when they put their witnesses on. And, you know, the one thing that the judge ruled is like, look, like when opening statements happen, you are not going to hear the defense's theory in terms of third-party culpability. That's the one thing that she said, I'm not letting you do that. I'm not going to let you do that, because until I see whether or not you can develop it to where it's plausible, I'm not willing to allow you to argue it to the jury or to state it to the jury in your opening remarks. So we won't hear about that theory in the beginning of the case at all from the defense. That'll be developed as it progresses.
And the witness that I'm most forward to taking the stand is the dog Chloe. The Albert family dog has previous issues with her attacking people. Rehomed a few months after John's death, man. Rehomed.
Where is Chloe?
That's
no one knows where Chloe is.
To rehome a dog, man. I can't imagine ever
That's a
rehoming unless I was like, I just can't even, I can't, I mean, I don't know.
That is a super contentious point too for the whole thing. Is the dog potentially attacking John is a theory. And I know
Being
we
rehomed not long after. I mean, that's a little suspicious.
Yeah. And sold the house, but
They sold the house and got rid of the dog.
like when we initially first ever talked about this with Bob, you know, this was one of the main things that had us debating right there live. Like we were looking at pictures, we were trying to like find other attacks from dogs.
Yeah, I was
trying to compare
this about the dog thing because I didn't think it personally looked like a dog attack. But I mean, since then there have been canine experts that have come out and said that that's 100% a dog attack. So.
Yeah, so sadly, Jay, lovely Chloe will not be taking the stand during this trial because that's
what I want, man. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I know, man. And I heard
we have Caesar Milan could be the interpreter for the dog, the dog whisperer.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not happening, man. No Chloe appearance at the trial, which is disappointing. I know to all the dog lovers out there.
All right, then we got Colin Albert, nephew of Brian Albert, present at Fairview for Brian Jr.'s birthday, claims he left before John arrived, had beef with John.
Yeah, and that's another very contentious, two very different stories. Colin's, claim is that he was there, but he left before Karen and John even pulled up, long gone. And the defense is saying, no, you were there, dude. And, they're basically, he's one of the primary guys that are pointing a finger at. And
there's a lot of stories about how they were like, I had an issue, and he would basically troll John, right, because of who his family was, and he would.
Yeah, well, apparently they live on the same block, and
he would throw his beer cans in his bushes as a story.
Yeah, so I was wondering, is the beef alleged, or is that kind of like a known thing?
And like take pictures of him like throwing shit in his lawn.
Yeah, one of the stories is I think him and Karen were on a trip, and they had their Ring door camera, and I think that again, take this allegedly, but he was on the porch drinking brews, basically just antagonize him, knew that they could see him, and
right.
I don't know. It seems like some fucked up shit was going on there, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they potentially were not real fond of one another. It sounds like that's a distinct possibility.
All right, Daniel, you want to take the investigation slide here?
Yeah, sure. So we got Michael Proctor, Massachusetts State Trooper, lead investigator, is being investigated for alleged policy violations. Dr. Irene Scorti-Bello, medical examiner, former NYC medical examiner, completed John's autopsy. Kenneth Berkowitz, former chief, Canton PD, 2005 to 2022, private senior security advisor, found broken tail light a week after the incident. Brian Tully, commander of homicide unit, Norfolk DA's office, filed affidavits for intimidation charges against Aiden Kearney.
And Bobo, how important this medical examiner? I mean, that's going to be
it's huge. Well,
right?
So. Yeah, I mean, obviously the ME for the state came back and, the findings were that there was no indication that he was involved in any kind of
No
tussle.
dog DNA.
There's no indication that the dog had attacked him. So basically, the cause of death had nothing to do with anything that the defense is intimating happened, and basically said that it resulted from hypothermia and blunt force trauma.
Blunt force trauma, yeah.
And then, of course, the defense hired their own, who said has a very different story. So it's like everything that the state's putting out there, the defense is countered with their own experts. And it's always one of those things where obviously the defense's expert had to go by the report from the ME and the autopsies and the photographs, as opposed to being able to actually examine John O'Keefe personally. So, which is always, an issue at trial, and that'll certainly be brought up on cross-examination of that expert.
Especially when the defense is relying on a cover-up story. I mean, if the medical examiner is in on it, you know what I mean?
Right.
For sure.
I mean,
For
and
sure.
just like we were talking about the witnesses' credibility and how you assess them, each one of these experts, we're gonna have to look at them, take them as they come up. Does what they say, does that make sense to us? Does it not make sense to us? Does the attorney make a point on cross or direct? That's like, you're like, oh, that, you know what I mean? Like each one of these people, we really have to try to assess. We're just looking at their pictures, and everyone who's out there is just looking at these documents. We have not heard these people speak, most of them at least. So like taking each of them as they go up there and testify is what it's all about, right? So
huge.
I mean, everything's alleged at this point.
Right.
There's no other way to put it. Like all of it's alleged, all of it.
All right, let's go down to the investigation. We got Aiden Curden, aka Turtle Boy, journalist, TB Daily News and YouTube, staunch supporter of Karen Reed, received charges for his alleged conduct surrounding the case. Brian Lucky Loughran, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right.
Loughran, yeah.
Loughran, all right, plowed.
Big witness.
Plowed Fairview Road during the time investigators alleged John's body lay outside of the Albert home.
He says he didn't see nobody.
Yeah, he said, if there was, he's at least not under oath, but he's on record as saying that, when he plowed the house he's got the same route all the time. When they get those nor'easters that blow through there. And, he said on that particular evening, his lights would have flashed exactly where John O'Keefe's body was ultimately found, and that there's no way that he would have missed him, like if he was there. And this is like shortly after 2 a.m. And he's claiming that there was no body there. So
if I'm not mistaken, Aiden Kearney, aka Turtle Boy, broke that. He actually was the first to interview him, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, that's what Turtle Boy says. I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's factual or not, but yeah, I mean, definitely Aiden has claimed that he's the one who kind of sniffed that guy out. So, which would be crazy to me if no one would have tried to, on a night where they're having a blizzard, that no one would have tried to contact, streets and sanitation to see if they happen to plow on that street around, that night, which, they would have. And
in the PCA, I believe it was mentioned there was some company that was not even a real plowing company or something, or maybe not the PCA, but some document early on. You guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
It was like Proctor. It was I think it was even Proctor's company or something like that. It was something
I do remember that
made up.
I do remember that now that you're saying that. There was some bullshit in the actual documentation that basically Proctor's a big part of this too, man.
He's a lead investigator, yeah.
Yeah, and but he's basically implicated because of, again, what stuff that, take it how you want, alleged or not, Turtle Boy dug up with the relationships that he has with these folks, man. He should not be in the position he's in investigating it.
No doubt. I mean, that's and there's broader accusations that, he's tight with the Albert family, that his kids babysit for, the Albert family, talking about Proctor's kids, so there's, the the intimation from the defense is that there's a real tight relationship there, like so tight that, you know, Proctor might be in a position to where he might try to help them out and cover things up. Like that's part of the defense's theory of this thing.
This is just right in front of me. I was kind of looking back on a court TV doc that I was looking at on Tuesday, and this is under Michael Proctor. One photo was described as showing Chris Albert and Chris's son Colin Albert with Proctor's sister and mother at a social gathering with other children and adults, and then they have, you know, the picture right there. Like, I mean, it's right in front of folks is what's crazy. And what I will say is pretty wild. When some of this stuff is brought up in some of these hearings, the prosecutor, they're blatantly denying that this is even true at some points. Like, and as people with the internet that can go out and find details and actually see it, I mean, I don't think that they have done themselves a great service with a lot of the way that, well, obviously the way they've handled this to being investigated federally, but I mean, what the fuck, dude? Like, everyone has the ability to go out and see what Turtleboy is saying, and then that's a great way for him to add people, right? I mean, they're like, well, shit, what the fuck's going on here? And a conspiracy start rolling, dude. Like, they haven't helped themselves at all in this.
No, it's one of those cases where, you know, the law enforcement could be put on trial, and it could be one where it's got more legs than your typical. Yeah, they screwed up the crime scene processing and everything. Like this one goes a little deeper than, you know, they just did a sloppy job at the crime scene. Like this one's got some, you know, tentacles that could go into very dangerous areas. You know, judges don't love when you go after cops. Judges don't love when you are saying cops are, you know, beyond shady, but that are, you know, like straight up corrupt.
If you have these corrupt
especially
cops,
if you can't prove it.
Yeah, you know? we find out these guys are corrupt to the gills. Every case that these guys have touched before comes into question.
Oh, for sure.
Like, dude, this is going to open up a can of worms of, like, and it's not just one guy, it's the whole fucking police department. It's insane.
Yeah. All right. So those are witnesses, and now we got a little timeline here. So January 29th, 2022, the night John O'Keefe died. Shortly after midnight, Karen Reed, John O'Keefe, and a group of friends went to the Waterfall Bar and Grill in Kent on the night of January 28th, 2022. According to prosecutors, Reed consumed several alcoholic beverages. Reed drove O'Keefe to the home of the Boston police officer, Brian Albert. That is where the police said people from the bar were meeting back up. Steve, can you read that? Or
yeah. 1 a.m. court documents later revealed that in the weeks before and even the hours leading up to the night, text messages between Reed and O'Keefe, as well as voicemails, showed a strained relationship. Investigators said that around 1 a.m. on January 29th, Reed allegedly left O'Keefe a voicemail that said, "You are a fucking loser, fuck yourself, and John, I fucking hate you."
First of all, Steve, how dare you with the language? As you can see on this article, there are little. We don't use.
Apologize.
Wow, Steve. Jesus,
What
and it would be loser, not losers.
Loser.
Fucking loser.
You're a fucking loser.
You fucking cocksucker, you loser.
I'll keep going here a little bit. 4 to 5 a.m. At 4:23 a.m., while heavy snow was falling, O'Keefe's niece called Jennifer McCabe, Brian Albert's sister-in-law, and a friend of O'Keefe's. She said Reed was distraught because O'Keefe had not come home and was not answering his cell phone. According to the court documents, McCabe said she heard Reed screaming, "John didn't come home. We had a fight." Around 5 a.m., Reed called another woman whose husband was friends with O'Keefe. Prosecutors alleged that Reed said, while they searched, "What if she's dead? What if a plow hit him? I don't remember anything from last night. We drank so much, I don't remember anything."
And she was hammered.
And
Reed was shit-faced, man.
And a lot of these quotes, they're saying that she was saying, I could see it, a frantic moment, you found the body, they're saying she's laying on top of him, trying to warm him up, just out of that would be, I could see in the moment being like, oh my God, and she's just literally saying shit out loud, right? But all of that is just, everyone's documenting it or taking mental notes, or maybe it's even on body cam.
There wasn't any sort of a breathalyzer taken, was there? Or was there?
I think there was.
Well,
I'm pretty sure it's in some paperwork.
I think they did a blood draw. Like they
Okay,
have,
okay.
like that was one of the things that got turned over, a late disclosure by the state, was her BAC level that was as a result of when she was taken into custody. And like her BAC at that point was still exceptionally high, and that is hours and hours after she left and was no longer drinking. So, I mean, she was.
Oh, it was according to what I just googled, it was 0.07 to 0.08, which is actually
Oh, that's not that bad. That's under.
That's
That's
legal,
under.
or
That's
almost
legal.
legal.
Yeah, in Illinois, that's
0.08 is the line.
0.08 is here
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
Everything just went blank for me when Lamont James just put up Toll Booth Willie, one of the greatest sketches by Adam Sandler ever. $1.25, Willie, isn't that the same that your mother charges for a blowjob? Oh, Toll Booth. You guys know Toll Booth Willie from Adam Sandler?
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest sketches of all time. All right, I'm not going to play it because I'll get a copyright.
I
All
think
right.
you did play it one time on one of your streams a while
Toll
back.
Booth
The old days, baby.
Adam Sandler CD. I played that thing forever. All right. Did we do 5:07 a.m.?
No, not yet. I don't think
You
so.
want to take it, Dan? By the way, I'm not asking Bob because his eyes are bad. He can't read this. This is too small for him.
I'm very old.
Yeah. So 5:07 a.m. Reed, McCabe, and the third woman went to look for O'Keefe. Prosecutors said Reed mentioned to the woman that she had a crack in her tail light and wondered if she could have hit O'Keefe. At 5:07 a.m., a surveillance camera at O'Keefe's house shows Reed's SUV coming extremely close to O'Keefe's SUV in the driveway. Prosecutors say no taillight pieces were found in that driveway, and Reed's defense argues the vehicle did strike the SUV, breaking the taillight and providing an explanation for damage to the SUV. And I remember when the very first time we talked about this, we watched that footage.
That's right.
And we,
Like,
I mean,
the
we
three
all
of us were like,
concluded
I think
that
I saw it move.
it moved.
Yeah, dude, we were debating that hard.
Yeah.
I still think that. Like, you can watch that so many times, and it's almost like, is your eyes playing tricks on you with that movement?
Yeah.
Right, or is it like confirmation bias? Like, because you heard that it hit it.
It's
and
so
like,
easy to do that.
Yeah, totally.
And remember, though, the jury, that's good. This should be the first time they ever see that. They should have never seen it before, and they're going to have to evaluate it based on what the arguments that are made. So that's just another thing, as we keep talking about, all these things that are going to come up in this trial that this jury has to independently assess. I mean, it's super interesting. 6 a.m. Around 6 a.m., Reed sees O'Keefe's lying in the snow outside Brian Albert's home. And emergency responders said that while hysterical and inconsolable, Reed repeatedly says, I hit him, I hit him. The defense argues that one of the first responding officers from Canton Police gave false and deceptive testimony to the grand jury that would later indict Reed. January 29th, 2022, prosecutors and defense attorneys agree that at some point the morning O'Keefe was killed, someone Googled hose long to dying cold. The sides disagree on when the search was made. Prosecutors say the search happened at 6:23 a.m. and 6:24 a.m. after O'Keefe's body was found. The defense says a federal forensic expert determined the search was made at 2:27 a.m. before police were alerted that O'Keefe's body had been found.
So there you go. There's your issue right there. So you've got two very, very different opinions on when that text actually took place. There's no question that it happened. It's a matter of when, because the 6 a.m. version is that it was done at the behest of Karen asking Jen to say, hey, like, God, Google, how long would it take somebody to die in the cold? And that Jen at that point, like while they're staring at John's body, like throws it in there and Googles it. And whereas obviously what I was talking about earlier, if it happens at 2:27 a.m., it creates a whole different narrative, doesn't it?
And what's super interesting too is, before the federal investigation side came out, there was the record. There's no dispute that there's a record in the data that there was a Google search at 2:27 a.m. But they're arguing that there's some like I don't know discrepancy there where maybe she opened a browser that the same browser that had been opened at 2:27 a.m. You know what I mean? Something like that.
That's kind of how their explanation is. Like when
Sloopy's
she would have opened her internet.
that according to her, and I never really questioned Sleuthy because when she digs in hard. She says that all three of those searches actually happen that it's not an either or proposition, that it's an all of them proposition. So that the 2:27 happened and the 2:06 a.m., that all three of those searches actually happened, that it's not one didn't
Yeah,
happen and the two happened. So, but that all of them happened.
Like the defense's, I guess, theory was that she was doing the 6:30 a.m. or 6:23 a.m. or whatever it is to kind of cover up the earlier one, right?
Yep. Right.
By the way, again, the 21st century, Google, the snitch that never stopped. All these people with Google, man, it is the snitch that gets you every time. All right, so how did John O'Keefe die? Steve-O, you want to take this?
I got you. Yeah, January 29th, 2022. Police say they found a broken cocktail glass and pieces of tail light at the scene. A forensic toxicologist estimated that Reed's blood alcohol content would have been around 0.13 to 0.29 around 12:45 a.m., more than the legal limit. January 31st, an autopsy is completed on O'Keefe. Prosecutors said the medical examiner ruled the cause of death was blunt impact injuries to the head and hypothermia. They say the medical examiner did not find any obvious signs of an altercation or a fight. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Karen Reed arrested February 2nd, 2022. Reed appears in Stoughton District Court for the first time, pleading not guilty to manslaughter, motor vehicle homicide, and leaving the scene of a motor vehicle collision causing death. June 10th, 2022, a Norfolk County jury indicts Karen Reed on charges of second-degree murder, manslaughter, while operating under the influence of alcohol and leaving the scene of personal injury and death. Reed is arraigned in the new charges in O'Keefe's death. She pled not guilty in Norfolk Superior Court in Dedham and was ordered held on $100,000 bail. Reed made bail and has been out on release since. I know some people had questions about that in the chat. Whose turn is it? Who wants to
Get it, Dan.
I'll take it. Yep. Let's see. Karen Reed's defense claims she was framed May 3rd, 2023. Defense attorneys Alan Jackson and David Yannetti allege that O'Keefe was involved in a fight inside Brian Albert's home. They claim O'Keefe was beaten and his body was later dumped outside. Jackson and Yannetti focused on wounds to O'Keefe's arms, which they said showed he was attacked by Albert's dog during the fight. This is not just fishing, Jackson said during the May 3rd hearing. We've got a fish on the hook. We just need the court to help us reel it in. Norfolk Assistant District Attorney Adam Lally argued that O'Keefe never went in the home and added there was no evidence that Mr. O'Keefe was beaten and left for dead.
The Jackson is Alan Jackson's good with words. He's got the sharp tongue.
Silver tongue guy.
Yeah.
Silver tongue guy.
I got you here. May 24th, 2023, during a pretrial hearing, Reed's attorneys laid out what they allege to be a cover-up by law enforcement. Certainly the Massachusetts State Police is involved. There are people that were in that house that are involved, Jackson said. Brian Albert is involved. Jennifer McCabe is involved. The rest of the folks that were in that house, there's some level of involvement, but every one of them, every single one of them. We're not going to rest until we get to the bottom of exactly who's behind this cover-up. Not only Karen Reed deserves this, John O'Keefe deserves this and has deserved this from moment one. And that's why they're not going to rest. Following the dramatic hearing, Reed spoke to reporters for the first time.
Oh, sorry.
We know who did it. We know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know, Reed said on the courthouse steps. I tried to save his life. at 6 a.m. I was covered in his blood. I was the only one trying to save his life.
All right. And now
they were talking about, him going into the house. We've got his cell phone data, right? We've heard of his cell phone data
which is in dispute.
And the elevation change and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Going upstairs, saying, no, that was
from this point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's all going to be an issue. And like Sleuthy, I know you're in the chat. I was digging through the witness list for the defense. Do they have a forensic phone expert? I didn't see one. If you know, Sleuthy, throw that in there. I did not see, I didn't see the green guy who originally had said, made the statement that that 227 text actually happened. I did not see him listed on the defense's list of witnesses. So
Is that the FBI guy?
no, he had a his own company. Like they had
Is the
hired him.
FBI guy going to be called for the defense?
I don't know.
Because
I didn't-
they've already kind of said that the FBI's confirmed that it happened. So I would think they would call him, right?
Yeah, so the judge's ruling in terms of what she's going to allow with respect to the FBI investigation was far from clear to me in terms of what she's going to allow. Like, she's not going to allow them just to put the Rich Green is the expert. Bob's asking Sleuthie about that's correct. Thank you, Law Nerd Amber. So like she didn't say, like, she's not going to allow them just to put the FBI's investigation report, which is voluminous, into evidence. And like she's going to make them being the defense, get out the fact that there was another investigation done through cross-examination is what it sounds like. Like we're
Okay.
you know, they'll have to question a witness. Oh, well, you know, you weren't initially talked to by Canton or the sheriff or anybody, but you did end up having you were interviewed by some agency, correct? And you know, they'll say, well, yeah, and then who was that? Well, it was the FBI. So they're
any
going
of
to
those
kind of
investigators aren't going to be witnesses.
I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know. I
Courtroom.
mean, it which is like incredibly devastating because
I would think so. Yeah.
I know the Fed's report said that in their opinion that he was not struck by a motor vehicle.
Yep.
Like that's what that I know. Like there doesn't seem to be any dispute in terms of that portion of their investigation.
Before I go further, I just want to thank everyone so much for being here. We really appreciate it. We got a triple stream going here. If you're not subscribed to one of us, if you could subscribe to the other one, particularly, I think most people probably know me and Bob because we've been streaming all week. But if you're on our chats and you're not subscribed to Publicly Buzz, give them a sub. They're awesome. Let me just share that right now.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, of course. Again, me and Bob will be covering it during the day, but Steve and Dan are probably going to be doing some recaps at night.
The night owls.
So we really
Because
appreciate
they have actual jobs during the day, so they have to go make a living
Yep.
so they can pay their mortgages and
That's the truth. Yeah.
things like
exactly.
that. So they'll have our back every night or as much as they can stand to do it. So yeah, and if you guys have not subbed, like they've been like under 10K for way too long. Like I find it to be obscene, and like all of my subs need to be subbing to my homies. These guys are my dudes,
Same.
man.
They're my sons,
Thank
for
you, Bob.
God's sake.
Oh my God,
Appreciate
we're
it, guys.
Viking sons, man. It's like, do the right thing, you know. You guys put out great content, and they're both wonderful human beings. All right, so
I
before
think
you jump into
suppressed us
this,
because we promote other platforms too much, but I'm not going to do that here.
We got some internal strife here, but Bob wants to talk. Go ahead, Bob.
wait, where's is there strife?
That sounds like there's some strife. I don't know. Go ahead, Bob.
Strife. All right, let's see. So Sleuthie was kind enough to send me the expert witnesses for the defense. So this is answering my question. So they have it looks to be 6 experts that they have listed. Frank Sheridan, MD, who is their forensic pathologist. He's out of San Bernardino, California. And then we've got Chris Van E, spelled EE. He's a PhD. He's an expert in biomedical and mechanical engineering. And he is from Novi, Michigan. They have Richard Green, who I was talking about, who is their expert in digital forensics. That cat's out of St. Petersburg, Florida. They've got Daniel Wolf, PhD. And he is from there's 3 from this ARCA, ARCCA Inc. I don't know what that company is. I'm sure Sleuthie will text it to me in the next 30 seconds. She's a gap filler. She's a gap filler. She fills the gaps. You know what I'm saying?
By the way, yeah, and for folks who don't follow Sleuthie, make sure you're following her on the twitter.com. I think I have a command for her, but I'm not positive. If I don't,
There you go. I hope it is. Yeah,
Amazing researcher.
Sleuthie
has great charts and time. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just echoing all the shit you were saying. Sleuthie's my home girl, man. I love Sleuthie. She's so good at what she does. Like I put her on, like like the backstory is that I was getting concerned, like, 'cause she was rabbit holed like a MFer on Koberger, like deep. Like when Sleuthy gets deep, she goes deep, deep. Like she plunges like few other on the planet, and she was super deep into Koberger, and like you know, and it was starting to get toxic in the Koberger world, you know. So she was like, and and she fears no one, you know. She'll defend her position because she knows her shit, you know. She's like one of those people that has the ability to be able to defend their shit because she knows her shit. She's never guessing it's shit. She's basing it on facts that she knows because she's done the research. And like I'm like, I got to get her off this Koberger thing because I could see her burning out on it. Like, and I didn't want her to burn out on what she does because like she's got a real job too. Like Suthi.
That's what's crazy.
Yeah,
the real
she's a
job plus
mom.
that research and a
Yeah.
mom. Bro.
She's a great mom. She works
That's
her ass
insanity.
off at her regular job. And then like, I don't know when she sleeps, to be honest. Like between her and Dizzy, I don't know when the two of them sleep because they're working and, you know, like all the stuff they do. And they just put together such amazing research. It's incredible. All right. So yeah. So ARCA is, as promised, is experts in forensic, scientific, and engineering solutions. So these guys, you know, they're going to be digging into, I'm assuming, all kinds of stuff. You know, because we have a lot of things that are at play here, you know, aside from the phone forensics, like everything dealing with the vehicle, the movement, the speed in which she would have been, you know, going in reverse, you know, the biomechanics of like, does it seem like he could have been struck? You know, how is he getting that injury on his head? You know, like, would a normal person who's struck by a vehicle have some kind of bruising or injuries on their torso? Like, that's the thing that I just can't get over. Oh, so at any rate, I fell off with the Sleuthy story because she sent me that. So like I'm like, Sleuthy, I need you to look at this case. This case is insane. And I kind of gave her the background. It was right around the time that I was telling you guys about it, Steve and Dan. And she's like, what? She's like, that shit sounds crazy. And like, immediately she's rabbit holed, and like within like a week I have like a timeline that's got like if I were to go through Sleuthy's timeline right now, like on this live, we'd be here till like 4 a.m. because she's got like every single detail that she's been able to call, and she pulls it from the pleadings, you know, from interviews, and I'm talking about law enforcement interviews. She's amazing. So,
And by the way, Bob, good on you for sending Sleuthy from just a toxic case with Koberger to this case where it's just peace and love. So thanks, Bob. I'm sure Sleuthy thanks you for just sending to this case where everything is lollipops and rainbows. So
and then I had the wonderful kindness to drag her into Delphi with me. So you know, I took her from one shit show to another, and you know, I'm glad I did though. Like, I'm always glad that I have her there with me. So she's indispensable to me.
Oh man, she's crazy with her shit. Like, it's nuts.
Organizational skills are impeccable.
And I first it was before I think I met either of you guys. It was through the fucking Koberger shit on Twitter, and I was like, wow,
it was, yep.
She is. I'm telling you, if you don't follow her on Twitter, you're missing out.
And by the way, while I'm shouting out Sleuthy, I gotta shout out our mods again, not only for setting this up, but like all they do, like helping us in the chat and helping us with all our stuff.
Everything.
We love you guys. So thank you for all you do for us.
A lot of them do it for all of us. Plus, more.
We have a lot of crossover.
It's unbelievable.
We can't pay them. It's not like we're paying them. They're just really good people that are helping us. So we're going to be relying on them during this trial because I mean, I can already see in the chat people are kind of arguing a little bit. I mean, it's been respectful so far that I've seen, but sometimes I don't even know if they delete shit so fast I can't even tell.
They are quick.
Yeah.
Right. I usually go back and see what was said. I'm like, what? I missed it. Like,
like there was somebody that hated me in our chat today from like I forget what her name was. She's like, I can't stand Jay's guest. I'm like bouncing, and I'm like, oh. And like the mods kept it in there, so I had to keep looking at it. I'm like, wow, like what did I do to offend that gal?
Oh no.
Sure, I did some shit. You know?
I'm sure you did nothing, and I'm sure
I'm not everybody's.
You had a strong opinion on something.
Yeah, me never.
And by the way, I want to bring this up, and I tweeted it, but like, if you're gonna come at me at this case, you know, I am going to respond to you with gifs of puppies. I am not going to fucking fight with you on there. I know other people have their other and they can do what they want to, but like people will argue with you on Twitter that the fucking world is flat. Like you're not going to win an argument with these people. So you come at me, and they're already coming at Shannon, and I responded with puppy gifs. I'm just not going to do it. Like if you see me responding with a lot of puppies, that's why. Like it's just not going to, like, you're not going to win, and the people are like so entrenched in their sides, man. It's like, anyway,
it could have been the chips. It may have been the chips, Akasha. That's definitely, or the apple, and maybe it was the apple. No, it wasn't chips. I was eating
radishes, maybe.
pistachios. No,
Radishes.
this was today. Radishes were yesterday. I have to snack. We're on all day. Like I don't have the ability to take. I can't eat lunch, man.
Crunchy treat. I mean, I can't.
Crunchy, I turn off the mic.
You guys have literally been on all day today. Like
it's been a long one, man.
Look, and now people are giving me shit because I pronounce gifs, not gifts. You can't win, folks. You can't win, and I'm not going to fight with you, except for now when I'm yelling at you about gifs and gifs. But
I am definitely in the GIF camp. It's spelled with a G, for God's sakes. Like I just
Dan's about to boil over.
My biggest argument with the spelling with the G thing is how do you say
if it's Jif? It would be a J. There's a peanut butter.
How do you say the word
Jiffy?
Gin? How do you say that word?
Gin?
No, you don't. It's gin.
Win, Dan, with the win.
I can say it gin. See, like I'm gonna have a nice glass. I want a gin martini, please. Yeah.
That shows how quick Bob is though to do that. I'd have been like, what? Like
I turned it around on Dan. Turn it around on Dan. Like that. So that's the argument because there's one. Yeah, Jim, Giant. So those are Gin, Giant, Jim. Yeah, those are 3 G for J's. I'm going to go ahead and disagree. Still, you've not convinced me.
A lot of people say because it stands for graphical. The G in GIF is graphical. So GIF. So
yeah, maybe
GIF, right? But
I guess
I say GIF.
Well, at least people are fighting about that now instead of this case. But
that's a safer fight.
See how I just diverted it over to that? It's they call that the old diversion technique. That's sleight of hand kind of shit. All right, so I mean, hope you all got something out of it. We weren't trying to be over the top with facts because a lot of it's in dispute. We wanted to give you like a broad stroke idea of who the main players are, who you can expect to see testifying in this case, give you kind of the overarching theories of both the state and the defense, and hopefully we accomplished that. And obviously at trial we're going to get all the deets. That's for certain.
Yeah, and
it's going to be interesting.
We hope you'll watch it with us. Right now, we are going to continue. Me and Bob are streaming the Potato Chad Daybell. It started getting, if you missed it, folks, today was the first day that really started getting interesting, not only before in court, but after. Holy shit, if you guys missed that hearing after court today, that was one of the wildest. I've never seen a judge, I don't think, that angry. Dan, did you see it? Or Steve, did you guys see it?
I didn't see it either. I just saw a bunch of tweets about it.
Holy shit. So this guy just files a motion who's not related to the case, and it happened like right before Easter. The judge was so you guys gotta take a look at it. I'm sure Bob has probably seen judges that angry, but I have
I have been the butt of a judge that angry. Oh god, yeah. Worse, way worse.
Oh man.
Oh my god, are you kidding? Yeah, dude. Like people bitching about Pryor, if like they were televising my ass, people like, oh my god, I cannot stand that fucking guy. It's like Alice and I go hard. Like we're not going in there trying to make friends. We're trying to, especially in a case where you're seriously doubting the evidence that the state has, and you really don't think that your person committed the crime, which frankly is not all that common. But like the thing is like if we've taken a case to trial, we think that there's issues. That's what I'm saying. Like a vast majority of stuff pleads out. That's just the reality of it, Right,
so, Bob, but you wouldn't be up at midnight on a Friday drunk. I mean, the judge, seriously, the judge essentially was like, were you drunk? He's like, because this guy had a bunch of typos. He put that he was the defendant's lawyer. He wasn't. And the judge is like, why am I getting this message at like 12 at midnight on a Friday?
Like
He
right
didn't
before
say, "Were you
Easter,
drunk?"
Easter weekend,
Right before
like
Easter
super, like in a super religious area, like like where everyone takes like he is risen very fucking seriously. It's like this guy, like, and he has nothing to do with the case. Like that's the biggest takeaway. He was like an intervener in a criminal case, which is not a thing. Like you can't intervene. And so, and he caused like panic because it's this guy like filing something saying he's Chad's defense attorney
in a capital
and
murder
that he's
case.
in a capital murder case asking for a continuance like the weekend prior to them picking the jury for the case. So, yeah, the judge was not happy with them at all.
Yeah, by the way, Steve just put it in the tomorrow I will be on Feral Friday with Publicly Buzzed, starting on YouTube, going to Kick. Chris Duet is going to join us, and Steve, tell him what we're going to do.
Yeah,
Oh
tomorrow
wait,
night.
were you supposed to spill that? I thought that was supposed to
No,
be
he put it in chat. He put it.
Yeah,
in
I did.
chat.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, tomorrow night, 420 special, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be, like Jay said, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to start hanging out for about 20-30 minutes over there. Chris Duet's going to join us. Jay's going to be there. Dan's going to be there. But then we're going to head over again. This is what I'm about to say right now is what Dan was about to say a minute ago. This is why he thinks that maybe our channel is being a bit suppressed. YouTube does not like it when you promote other platforms. And I put the links of those platforms in my description because after about 20 or 30 minutes tomorrow night, we're going to head over to a website called kick.com and we're going to watch the full movie of Half Baked. So please join us.
I'm going to try to not be annoying, but I think that may be the movie that I've seen the most in my life. I got to be in the 30s to 40s. I love that movie. I mean, so I'll try not to be annoying and
pretty good one.
Read every line, but it's just so funny to me.
I'm assuming you guys are all going to be blazing hard, so that should be a very good time.
No, not me.
Not Steve. Not Steve.
A lot of laughing. I predict a lot of laughter tomorrow evening. That's what I predict.
Mods block Holly Berry, who just said Jay is definitely going to be annoying. Mods block her for his life.
That's so good.
And by the way, if there are folks that are new here, I hope this is kind of the vibe that we have when we stream trials. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We do take, we pay attention to the case, and we're going to present. And like I said, we haven't made our decisions yet, but we hope you like how we this is kind of what we do, folks. So thank you all for go ahead, Bob.
And we love you guys. Like we love like we've been working hard to create like an actual community. And I think that we've made like huge headway in doing that. And I think our community is amazing. Like I love our chat so much. Like I just like I'll bounce into like other chats, not necessarily with other channels of YouTube, but like if you go into like the law and crime chat, man, that's like entering like the 7th level of hell, and you're like, oh my God, and as me as an attorney, I'm just like, it's like you like people are just throwing their opinions out there, which is fine, but it gets heated really, really quickly. And I could see how people would be turned off by that in terms of like, it's just cool to be able to come to a place to be able to relax a little bit, to be able to chat with people that you enjoy their company and kind of doing the thing that we all love, which is to talk about true crime and watch trials, man. So it's like,
and how many times have we seen people from our community say that they've never talked before ever in a chat? And they're like, you know what? I felt like this was a safe space. And dude, that's the coolest feeling. It's awesome, man. Because there's a lot of landfills out there. A lot of landmines you can step on as channels. But man, that's one of the coolest things I can ever see is when people are like, man, you guys' vibe was so cool. I felt like you were my friends. I'm like, whoa, that's what we're going for here. So,
and a lot of that is again to the mods and this community that gets it. They get it. When people do come in and try that, they don't entertain it. They're not gonna you know what I mean? Like we kind of have so. Anyway, we've been on it for. I hope you guys like this. We appreciate it very much. Me and Bob will be back tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks you guys so much for inviting us. This was fucking awesome.
Of course, thanks for being here,
man. You have a standing invite. You guys know that.
Yeah, of course. And again, it's publicly buzzed. If you're on the replay crew and you know me and Bob, please sub to them. We our goal now, get the PB boys to 10K. Don't make Dan and Steve fight over links that they're sharing. Steve, tomorrow instead of sharing the links, just go. I'm going to kick. Like do it like like it tricks
And
you
and
out.
I do. I think I promote it really hard. Like I basically give a commercial
It's
on
in
how
the
to download
thumbnail,
the
it's in the
app,
description.
on how to.
So you
So I
can
think
see
I'm-
how
I
much
think
it
Dan's-
pisses Dan off. Like
Dude, I
Dan's
think Dan's
face
right,
is like,
honestly.
No,
like,
no, it actually
if
doesn't
you-
piss me off. It's just
if you look into it, like that
think
is
it's
one of the
silly.
things. Like they don't want you going off that platform. Obviously,
Yeah.
they want all the eyes on there. So, and I mean that maybe Dan's got a point. So,
All
yeah, it
right.
could be. I mean, I don't know. It's a theory.
Thank
I mean,
you
I
so
think
much.
it's pretty good.
love you
theory.
guys.
We love you guys too. Mods, we love you.
Love you, Mike. Thank you
Subs,
for all the
we
stuff
love
you
you.
did for this.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good